Hello and welcome to CyberSafe News and Views. My name is Lee Frazier and I'll be your guide. So today, in today's episode, what's a network and why do I care? I hate to put it that way, but we get a lot of comments from our clientele that we talk about networks because it just makes sense to us. What's a network? What are you talking about? Can you bring it down to my level? So your network is in your office, in your home. It is everything that's behind your internet service provider provided router modem. So when you call up Comcast, AT&T, Spectrum, or whomever, and you say, hey, I need internet at this location, great. That is your ISP. They come out, they install it, they get everything working. You have fiber, you have DSL, whatever you have. They give you a modem that connects out to their network, their infrastructure, and they give you, as part of that, a Wi-Fi router. You may choose to use their Wi-Fi router or not. That's part of a different discussion that we won't really talk about today. But most people are probably using the ISP, the Internet Service Provider's router and modem. So everything behind that is your network, even that device, even that Wi-Fi device. And first, I'll ask for a certain amount of grace here, leniency. If you're in IT and I'm talking about this in more simplistic terms, I realize that everything may not be 100% on target or on technical correctness. I do definitely try that, but I want to keep it to where it's simple enough for the small businesses to understand. So there's nothing going to be wildly out of correctness here, but there's certain terminology, certain things that, well, that's really a different device. Yes, I realize that. But for simplistic terms, in your office, in your home, you have a internet service provider modem and router. That router serves up your Wi-Fi. Generally, they're going to encrypt that. It's encryption through some protocols on the device. And everything behind that, including that device, if you set up any additional networking gear, you may not. But if you do, that's your network. It may get far more complex than that, just one device. Or you may just have the device and have no idea what's going on. That's okay. But that's your network at home and or at your place of business. So great. The ISP provided it to me, so it's secure, right? Well, that depends on what's on your network. So if I know a lot of small business owners that might take their child to work in the summer, and the child is on a tablet or a computer, and they're downloading games, they're doing things that wouldn't be acceptable in a work environment. But on their device, hey, if they brick their device, no big deal. Or if you're on a tablet, hey, they're only going to the Apple store, downloading things, great. But all of those things on your network can actually make you vulnerable. They're doing activities that make you more vulnerable. So anything on your network makes you vulnerable. So if you don't know what it is, if you can't trust who it is on your network and what it's doing, you need to get it off of your network. And we'll talk about some of that as well. But if I had a doctor that had their kid in their office and they had a laptop and they were downloading all kinds of games, and very quickly we started to see activity that was risky if not leading to the point of, if unsupervised, could get compromised on their network. So you get things in there. You can have, with unmonitored devices, you could have keyloggers, you could have network sniffers. You don't really need to know what these are, but logs actually what it says, every key you type. If you have sniffers, a sniffer can actually look at the wire, look at the traffic going across the wire as it's going and see, hey, they're going off to this website. Hey, I see a username. I see a password. So that's why we've got to keep your network secure. Anyone who has access to your network puts you at risk. So that's really a big deal. You want to keep that as secure as possible, not only for your speeds, because the fewer people that are on your network, the faster your internet will go, but for the security aspect of it as well. So a couple best practices. Keep your Wi-Fi, your internet private. Don't share it with everybody. Hey, don't put it on your, it's a feature of my small business. You walk into my office and hey, Wi-Fi is plastered on the wall. Please don't do that. If you must share your Wi-Fi with your business, with your customers or patients, whatever you end up doing, please get a new router that has a guest network. That's the easiest, simplest way to keep it relatively safe. I still recommend, just let your patients use their mobile phone data. Hey, I've got my iPad here. Well, you've also got a phone probably. Connect your iPad to your phone and use your own data. Once the conversation's been had once, generally it goes away. So that's the recommendation. Guest network, I mentioned that you can get a router if you go to Best Buy. You can just say, hey, I need a router and it needs to have a guest network. They'll point you to one. You could also go on Amazon, look up guest network on a Wi-Fi router. You'll find a couple. I'm sure you'll find many, and you can set that up. If you need help with that, leave me a comment down below, and we can help you with that. It's not really a hard thing or a big deal. And then change your Wi-Fi password. And I'll put this in air quotes, periodically. No one ever changes their Wi-Fi password. You need to change your Wi-Fi password. What happens if you have a big event at your office? You give out your Wi-Fi and you know what? It was needed that day because of X, Y, and Z. Great. Change it next week so that everyone is now looking for your network and they can't access it. Oh, yeah, I changed my Wi-Fi password. What is it? Oh, I don't remember. Conversation had, done. They'll be back on their mobile data. But change your Wi-Fi password periodically. If someone ever leaves your office, your practice, whatever, then they won't have access to your Wi-Fi. If I'm on your Wi-Fi, I can see what's happening. I can sit in your parking lot, see your traffic, and get data that you don't want me to have. So do that. And one of the most critical things, I'll ask someone, hey, how old's your Wi-Fi router? Oh, it's probably, I don't know, 3-4 years old. I have this calculation that I do whenever someone that is non-technical tells me the age of something. I times it by 2 at the absolute minimum. I've seen 802.11n devices. You may not know what that is. They're ancient. They were around in the 2000s. You must keep these devices fairly new, and I'll say current. You keep it fairly new. Why? Because these devices get patched too. They have firmware to keep up to date. If your device is ancient, someone can walk by with a Wi-Fi little packet inspector and say, I can see your Wi-Fi. Oh, you're 802.11n. How do they know that? There's programs out there. You don't need to be a rocket surgeon. And then suddenly, oh, by the way, there's a vulnerability on this router. Suddenly I'm on your network, sniffing the packets. Once I've done the hard part of finding you and finding a vulnerable network, the rest of it's easy. So keep your Wi-Fi router current. Periodically call your ISP and say, hey, I want to upgrade on speed. And by the way, I need a new modem. They're not going to like you, but generally if you upgrade on speed, they'll give you the new device as well. So that's what a network is. A little bit of why you want to keep it secure. We truly do get this question regularly. I'm not just making up topics, but keep everybody off your network, keep your device, your password secure, keep your device up to date, and keep your devices monitored. So if you have any questions about that, please leave me a comment down below. Well, I'll answer any comment that anyone posts. So that's the topic number one. Now on to the news. It's been amazing, and not in a good way. I guess exciting from my point of view. I'm in cybersecurity, and there was another hack. Ascension Hospitals was hacked. They are. Let me look at the specs on here. There was a news article on CBS News. Had most of what you would have wanted to see if you listened to it. Let me surmise it for you. Ascension Hospitals has 140 hospitals in their chain of hospitals that they own. They have 40 senior care facilities. They're in 19 states, and they were hacked. At first, they thought, well, we've had a breach of security, exposure of data. Yeah, they did. Then they found out it was admitted to, a day later, I think it was, that there was a ransomware event. So they have lost some of their data, some or all, still to be determined. And they are currently unable to process credit cards for their pharmacy. Their patients are being asked to write down their medications, complaints. Why are you here? I mean, this is absolutely critical. That people could die from this. What if a patient forgets that they're taking blood pressure medicine? Oh, I don't see blood pressure medicine on here. Well, let me prescribe some of that to you because your blood pressure was too high. And suddenly, or whatever happens. This is absolutely just mind-boggling. As of the news article that I read, some of their hospitals were still diverting the ambulances to other non-Ascension hospitals. So this is critical. Ambulances don't run just because, someone is feeling ill. People are critical. So these hackers have no morals, no justification for this, except they want your money, period. So it was interesting. We'll talk about some of the agencies a little bit more in a moment, but the federal government is predicting that this will continue to happen, that every healthcare entity should start to ask themselves, am I next? Am I prepared? This is absolutely unreal. And for those small businesses that might listen to the podcast that aren't healthcare related, I apologize. This one was just too big to miss this week. So, and I found it interesting that the cure could actually hurt as much, maybe more, than the original cause. They mentioned that Ascension, and if you remembered, the other healthcare that was earlier this year that I just lost the name to, the hack. Anyway, those two hacks, they immediately took their networks when they noticed it. They immediately took their networks down and disconnected them from the computers. That has a knock-on effect that nobody else that accesses those devices could process any transactions. No pharmacies could access prescriptions. You couldn't access the medical records of anyone. You couldn't process a transaction. I mean, absolutely unreal if you had to do any billing. Ascension Healthcare has 134,000 doctors and staff that were all dependent on paper. That's mind-blowing, absolutely mind-blowing. So that's Ascension Healthcare. The federal government has also mentioned 77 ransomware attacks in the US in February on healthcare organizations. Your data is a ripe target. They want your data, whether or not you pay the ransom. And we're seeing that folks are paying these ransoms. your data is valuable. They can get that data, they can sell it and make money while they're still convincing you to pay the ransom. So there are multiple ways. And they mentioned that Ascension was hacked. Well, excuse me, not Ascension. There was a previous hack that healthcare. I can't remember. Was because one of the servers, one server didn't have multi-factor authentication turned on. So any of you have servers? If you have servers, do you have multi-factor authentication turned on? If you don't, you're at risk as much as anybody else. These folks are generally prepared for these things. They had some things that they were probably working on that could have been documented. I'm not saying they weren't, but they had one vulnerability that was found, and that prompted a complete shutdown of Ascension Health. So, and the news article also mentioned, as long as these hospitals and large hospital organizations continue to pay, we will see more and more of these. So you may be small. It doesn't matter. If you have valuable information and you're running a small business, you're on the target list. If you're actually in healthcare, your data is even more valuable. Excuse me, almost said vulnerable. More valuable, and therefore they're going to continue after you. So watch out for this one. This could get nothing but worse if these targets are, if they're right in what they're saying about who's being targeted and what's going on. And just as a side note, Black Basta was involved. There's more coming on them as well, but they're a cyber hacking organization. In our second news article this week, number 2, Macs are being hacked by open source software used to develop fake applications. The example they used in the article that I read was this open source software was being used to develop a fake VPN software. It then asks you for credentials. You type in your one password and your one user, and then they can start going off and trying to hack other areas. A little bit hard to actually find out where this came from, because if you gave them that default password, suddenly they're into your email or they're into something else that you might use. And then while they're there, they're also just sniffing the traffic over the wire. Again, once I'm on your network, you can't stop it. So watch out. That one is, and there's a couple things on that one. If applications are free, there's a reason. You're the data. There's something about you that they're gathering, that they're watching, that they're using to pay for the use of that program. Or it's completely fake and they're using the information that you're typing in, seeing going across the wire, etc. So don't use open source software. That's not completely relevant to this article. But also don't use that VPN. I bet that was fake. I bet it was cheap. I know it was fake. I bet it was cheap. Use well-known in software. And if you're not sure, ask someone who is. Use a well-known VPN in this case. Use well-known software. Don't download your software from the internet. All right. And our third and final article of the week, in the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency said that Black Basta ransomware breached over 500 organizations worldwide. 500, folks. That's a 5 and 2 zeros. So again, Black Basta came up. This is that cyber hacking organization. The article went on to say that Black Basta targeted 16 critical infrastructure sectors. So think energy, water, just different things from that aspect, electrical, gas. They targeted 16 critical infrastructure sectors. Oh, but they were all ready, right? They've got a budget, right? They've got the ability to stop these things, right? Nope. They got into 12 of them. And will they get into more? That's a matter of time that we got to wait and see. But they targeted 16 and got 12. These guys are absolutely killing it from their point of view. They're able to ransom folks. Certain number of them pay. This is a business model. They are making big dollars off of this because people get hacked and they can't access their data. Or I have a backup. That got encrypted. That got hacked. Well, I've got offline, or you need to have a plan. If you don't have a plan for one day, my computer, just pick it up and throw it away. Now what do I do? Where's my data? How do I access it? How do I make sure that where I stored it isn't encrypted, isn't accessed by somebody else that I don't want in there? And all of this Black Basta company, and it is a company, they are serving up their software that has been so successful, ransomware as a service. So now 12-year-old Tommy can go to the dark web. Yes, it exists. It may not be exactly how it looks on those shows, if you watch any CSI shows or whatever, but the dark web does exist. He can go out there and say, yeah, I'm going to sign up for this. They give him ransomware. They give him the software. He has to agree to pay a certain percentage of the Bitcoin that he might get, and they take it off the top. It goes to them, and then they pay him, I'm sure. I actually don't want to know that much about their business model, but then all he has to do is send this fish out to, and that's PHISH, to his email list. He's done nothing but send out an email, and he can always claim, oh, I had no idea. It would take a cybersecurity expert to actually dive into, oh, yeah, you did. So he sent this out. Anyone gets encrypted, anyone gets compromised because of it, Tommy, 12-year-old Tommy, gets paid because their software is so good and he's leveraging it with his contact list. So you've got to be vulnerable. Now, I just said a word, phishing, this fish. If you're not sure what that is, leave me a comment, ask a question down there. We'll cover that in another article, in another podcast that we're going to do here. But a fish is truly just a way of giving you some information to click on a link in an email or to go to a site and get you to download something. So be careful. You can get hacked very easily, very quickly, and not even know it for a couple of weeks, and then your data is gone. So if you're interested more in how you can be hacked, leave me a comment down below, and that will be a future podcast, a future article. Again, my name is Lee Frazier. This has been Cybersecurity News and Views. Sorry, this is live. Cybersecurity News and Views. If we can help you in any way, please let me know. Leave me a comment, and we'll see you in the next one. Until then, stay cyber safe.